Okay, guys, we are at the 1,250 rounds of testing of update and review summary for the Girsan MC-35 high power. And this is just a summary. Early in our testing, we noted that we weren't getting anything like decent accuracy out of the Girsan barrel. So we put a BH advanced barrel in, and accuracy became very, very strong. We actually have plans to do some additional testing with that Girsan barrel, and we'll be showing that to you in some upcoming sessions. But we really want to validate, what we found there, and certainly the experience we've had shooting the Girsan in the last several hundred rounds has been really strong, very, very, very excellent as far as the accuracy is concerned. We did note that the trigger lever and the magazine disconnect spring, we made a note about that. It was not positioning correctly. BH Springs resolved that. Made a note about the extractor spring as well. We felt like the BHSpringSolutions design of the our optimized extractor spring was a better application in the Girsan. We did replace all other coil wire springs, and we have a summary of how and why we chose to do that. Note about the trigger pin: the Girsan's trigger pin design is really good for one or two ins and outs, and that's about it. And it's going to be loose and can be pressed in and out by fingers. So we replaced that with a BH Advanced self-tightening trigger pin for high powers. The safety lever pin, it started walking out of the Ambicide safety lever. BHSpringSolutions safety lever pin resolved that. We did notice what we classified as a defect in the recoil spring guide rod and the positioning of the detent ball in the recoil spring guide rod. We replaced that with the BH Advanced recoil buffering recoil spring guide rod. The slide stop, the OEM slide stop, did not fit correctly in the frame, and we did likewise replace that. The sear spring, this was an interesting one because we really didn't know exactly why we were getting these sometimes in the threes, 4.5 average trigger break weight. That traced right back to the Girsan's sear spring. And we've elected to replace that out and give ourselves a little more trigger resistance and a little more authoritative reset as well. We think it'll balance the pistol a little bit better. And then we did make that adjustment to the magazine catch, so the magazine positioning in the frame would be correct, so that the slide could proceed forward, not get tangled up on the back of the installed magazine. The components in the Girsan that at this point, based on their performance and inspection after 1,250 rounds, and based on known hardness values of the components, these suggest that the following OEM components may provide long-lasting and correct function. That would be the hard parts in the trigger subassembly, the fire control group, including the sear hammer assembly and the ambi safety assembly, with the replacement of that one pin, of course. The slide small parts, including the extractor, the Type 2 sear lever, and the firing pin. The original sights that were replaced with Meprolite night sights. And no alteration of the dovetail was required for that. However, it does leave a mark on the top of the slide, that front sight does, when you press that sight out and replace it with something else. So the ramp on that front sight kind of gets you a refinish or just a little bit of ugliness there on top of the slide. And we think the original grip panels and the original grip screws also are fine. Because of the reputation for fracture of the firing pin retaining plate, and because of the hardness value that we measured on the ejector, we don't have any expectations of longevity for these specific parts at this time. I think another one we could add in this list here of the competent components. The magazine catch would be one after it's been fitted to the hole place to its hole placement in the frame. It also is a competent part. Also in our review, and I think this will be available at BHSpringSolutions.com. You're going to note that after 1,250 rounds, we completed our entire inspection process that we have in the BH Custom Shop Service Department, and just the notes about everything that we found and why, and the specifics about that. You'll note the components and the service recommendations that we would have for a Girsan if it tested out exactly like the one that we have been evaluating. And then finally in the report, you see the circled parts and those things that we found as concerns that we did in fact replace. And then the last thing in the report, we did include the comparisons of the hardness amounts for the Girsan and for the Springfield SA-35, and just as a reference and for how those compare. So this is our review at the 1,250 round point, and we are going to be taking the testing of the Girsan in an entirely different direction from here. We do have more shooting coming up, and we're going to be including some things that are going to be very new and as part of some testing protocols ongoing with some other components. So we hope you'll join us for our future sessions. This is our 1,250 round update for BH Spring Solutions evaluation and testing of the Girsan MC-35 high power. I'm Mark Allen for BH Spring Solutions LLC and BHSpringSolutions.com. Our special sessions of evaluation of the Girsan MC-35 as part of BH High Power University. Thanks for watching, folks.